name is Alicia Shapiro with AiNews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Brian Sathianathan, co-founder and chief technology officer at Iterate.ai, an enterprise AI platform that's helping some of the world's most recognized brands deploy AI applications faster, more securely, and at scale. Brian's career spans roles at Apple, where he was part of the team that launched the original iPhone, to startup founder, investor, serial entrepreneur, and now innovation leader at Agentic AI and low code development. Under his leadership, Iterate's patented Interplay platform has driven rapid digital transformation for brands like Ulta Beauty and Circle K, fueling 287% revenue growth between 2017 and 2020. The company is also trusted by enterprise leaders such as MUFG, Intel, and IBM for its secure, scalable AI solutions. In today's conversation, we'll explore the shift that's happening in tech hiring, Brian's advice for young professionals entering the workforce, and real-world power of agentic AI. We'll also learn how Iterate AI is making enterprise-grade innovation faster, more private, and more accessible than ever. So thank you for joining us today, Brian.
Thank you, Alicia, for having me. I'm very excited.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to have you here. So let's start with the challenge that's on the minds of many young professionals right now. I saw a recent TechCrunch article that revealed that hiring of new grads by major tech companies is down by 50% since 2019. And as someone who's helped build both startups and innovation teams inside enterprises, what's your perspective on that shift and why is it so much harder to land that first tech job today?
I think there are a number of factors. It's a great question, Alicia. I think there are a number of factors that are affecting it, right? If you really look at it, first, I think is that the a lot of the entry level jobs, due to the economic uncertainty, as well as what generative AI is contributing, a lot of entry level job, both in if you are an engineer, a developer, or if you are a marketing person, or you are a legal intern, a lot of those things are being looked at automated by AI or generative AI capabilities, right? The existing tool sets are generating a lot of things. Just practically, if you're a marketing intern, the stuff that you would write, the copy today, ChatGPT, or even our platform like Generate could actually write that, right?
Yeah.
So that actually eliminates the need, and so companies are reducing. There are other hidden factors also at play here. The first is there is a lot of the AI tools are basically allowing these interns and young graduates to apply, and companies are getting applications at volumes.
Oh,
Sometimes they don't have the ability to process all of them. Now all the resumes are looking exactly the same, right? It's all
yeah.
generated, right? And that's happening at troves. So when the need is small, suddenly you get a very high volume of resumes that kind of look the same and they get processed. The companies, the mid-range, mid-market companies don't really have the tools to process it. When you do this to a Google or something, it's fine because they have a lot of tool sets that could process all these things, right? Smaller companies or mid-market companies, companies that have 500 to 2,000 people may not have the right tool sets.
Right.
And there are a lot of tools for these young graduates to SaaS tools. You can just pay $20 a month, and then they'll rebuild your whole resume and keep applying for every possible position. And I think I was listening to a news article the other day on the radio. It was that I think it said that earlier an applicant, something I'm paraphrasing, I think, would do a couple of applications a week, and this would apply like 250 something in a week, right?
Wow.
So suddenly you're creating very high volumes of applications, and they all look the same. So that I think is also another problem because suddenly you got a big flood of applications and that's coming in, and it's very hard to distinguish. And then the need is also, which I think is not a good sign, because we need to make sure that our young graduates are trained and they are skilled, and they because colleges are is expensive and there is a heavy investment in there, and people have to pay back their debts and other things in that area. So I think there has to be a better avenue that'll help them. But I think definitely that's another problem that's also happening primarily. Like, the number of applicants suddenly increased and the applications increased, they all look the same. And then, of course, as AI is eliminating the need for it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And you've said that young professionals need to stop waiting for that perfect job and start building. Can you share more about what that looks like in practice and maybe what kinds of projects, skills, or approaches actually catch the attention of hiring managers and founders like you?
I think the idea is to a couple of things would be very interesting. Now, specifically, I'll give you some examples
Okay.
for coding if you want to be a developer. First, start make doing a lot of projects and get your GitHub full of projects because hiring managers and others would look at and how much work you've done. So that's I think it's an important place, right?
Hmm.
And also focus on because what happens is technology is always like that, right? Expands and contracts, goes through those cycles constantly. So look at what's hot right now. So if you are a computer science graduate, learn everything about large language models and contribute to papers and be a part of because just because you went to school, nobody's going to give you a job. That
Yeah.
is the that is the challenge today, right? And if you are a marketing intern, write look at companies' marketing strategies, write blogs, write analysis articles. So there is a whole online presence about you, and that contributes a lot, right? Or do videos on or podcast series on various topics, pick certain niches that you can contribute, and then create a whole online presence about this topic, right?
Hmm.
I think that will allow make you get noticed because it's also it all nowadays the ability to propagate your message has become much more easier. Creating content, or you can record the video once and then you just have to all you got to do is update the text and then it'll automatically generate the video for you. So it's a lot of things that you can do to create content a
Yeah.
lot faster and then create a whole online presence about you for that given topic. I think it's important. That's one of the growth drivers for young graduates. The other is a partake as much as possible in person events
Hmm.
because that's the place where people get to meet you.
Yes.
And then end of the day, like before all this tech came along, that's how people got jobs.
Right.
So participate in as many like a campus recruiting event. There's a lot of network entrepreneurial style events that are going on in your city or your town. Every town has something going. If your
Mhm.
town's too small, the nearest largest large town will have something.
Right.
So figure out what they are relevant to your industry. Not just to job fairs, but also attend industrial type events. So then you will end up meeting people and tell them that they are there to learn and be humble, and then you will get the attention of somebody, and they'll say, "Why don't you come and
Yeah.
show up and do something?"
I think that's fabulous advice because it shows that you're proactive, you're willing to put in the work now, and
Yeah,
going to these networking events or even conferences in your field. I think that's so important. I think that's great advice.
thank you. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of opportunities like that. And I think you got to create the opportunities, and then the
Yeah.
ones that are enterprising that are willing to take a lot of risks, you could start your own company.
Yes.
Because what else when else is a better time, because when you have nothing to lose you can just go for it. Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. I love that.
yeah.
And if you were graduating today and just starting your career in tech, what would you do differently? Given what you know about the evolution of AI and where the industry is headed, what mindset or experiences would you prioritize?
I think a couple of things, right? What I would prioritize if I'm a graduate, let's say in computer science, I'm just graduating now,
Mhm.
right? I would look at it in different sort of windows or time horizons. What I want to prioritize for the next 2 years to land a really great job would be one thing. And then
Mhm.
what I would prioritize 2 years from there would be another thing, because by the time the tech would have changed and your skill set would have changed. But the first 2 years, I would prioritize depending on which route I want to do. Right now, I'm older, but if looking at from who I am now, if when I'm graduating, I would have just thought of an idea and try to build a company.
Mm.
That because that would be the best because you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to risk.
Mm.
So that would be the fastest thing I would have done. But just for any graduate, let's say you are a computer science graduate, look at research areas in large language models. It's very easy. These are all open. You can just do a Google search or a chat GPT search, right?
Yeah.
And figure out what all of these big companies are doing, and then pick one area or two areas and develop expertise in there, and then create online videos and content in YouTube, post them about these topics, and then go to these networking events and then meet the right leaders within these companies. There are so many conferences. You can just Google the
Yeah.
person's name in LinkedIn, or like even their posts, right? When people like these leaders share things, and you can actually send back a friendly post or a direct message with some of the
Mhm.
things that you either agree or in addition. Then people read those, right? No, this is interesting. And they look you up, get attention that way. and be genuine. And at the end of the day, I think you have to be yourself.
Yes,
So that's what I think I would prioritize.
that's
Yeah.
great advice. And turning to Iterate, you've built the low code platform with over 4,000 nodes, real time deployment, and enterprise grade privacy, which really sets apart your a company in the crowded AI space. Can you walk us through how the platform works and what kind of challenges it's helping customers solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So the platform today is a drag and drop AI platform.
Okay.
The real business problem that we're trying to solve is still there are so many, the AI world is changing so fast, and
Mhm.
traditional companies are still struggling. If you are not a Google, if you are not a Facebook, if you're not a traditional Silicon, not a
Yeah.
Silicon Valley company, you still have the challenge to hire the right resource and people who know these large language models, how to tune them. And that's a very complex problem. So what we do is we provide a drag and drop platform that allows you to build these AI applications. How do you call a large language model? So especially if you're in a secure private environment, how do you take a local model? How do you run a local model? How do you ingest documents into it? How do you actually fine tune it? All the things that you need a data scientist, a computer scientist type resource we provide using these Lego blocks. And you can just
Mhm.
click on them and set things up, and it allows you to build AI apps much more rapidly. And then in addition to that, we also have a runtime engine, because a lot of the drag and drop platforms are so considered toys because they've been built
Oh,
like for prototyping or what. But what we've done is we've gone a couple of notches further and then optimize them for the underlying hardware. So even though you drag and drop and start building it, they would actually run natively super fast. So you don't sacrifice performance. There is a cost saving aspect to the business. And then, of course, businesses in general, especially senior leadership, chief digital officers, chief innovation officers, they like this type of thing because they can get stuff to market a lot faster. And also, as the new world is coming in, we released a capability called Agent One. So Agent One is a prompt coder. You can go in there, and in English, you can just type what you want, and it'll just build the app right in front of you. It's pretty amazing. And then we have two versions of it. We have a version that works in the very popular Visual Studio, like the engine that a lot of engineers use.
mm,
So it's a free version for startups and enterprises. So that would be something a graduate should could download and actually build apps very quickly. It's completely free, right? It's called
nice.
Agent One. And then large enterprises, of course, they pay license for it. And then we
Mhm.
have a version, a very similar version of it that will also build code. But instead of building regular code, it'll build this type of capability for like a Lego style code. So you can manage it much faster, right?
Mhm.
Because now you're going into a world where AI is beginning to generate code. And it can even generate an entire enterprise application end to end. The UI, UX, the front end capabilities, the business logic, the back end, the AI required for it, the plumbing, the scaling, everything can be done by these things very fast, right? Really rapidly. In a world where AI is beginning to generate code and good code too, high quality code, depending on what your prompt is, or how you set it up. Now you are in a world where every day you're generating, hundreds and thousands of lines of code opposed to like an engineer could only write a few lines of code. So you got to manage that. So we provided using these Lego blocks and environments, you can manage that much better, more seamlessly.
Nice. So Agent One helps you build the app. It gives
Yeah.
you that native conversation. Does it have agentic capabilities within itself? Can you
Yeah,
add
it,
an
it is.
agent?
Yeah, it is an agentic built-in. It's a coding agent. You
Okay.
could do other things with it. I've tried. We've given it to our own marketing teams, and they've tried building PowerPoints and presentations
Oh,
and things
wow.
like that with it. So you can use it as a general purpose agent, but
Nice.
its main goal is to be a coding agent. It's a
Hmm.
being a coding agent for engineers. But we also have ability in our Interplay platform to spin out agents really rapidly,
Oh, yeah.
and then you can basically do all kinds of business applications.
Yeah.
And we also have, along with Interplay, there's another platform we market called Generate. So
Mm.
Generate is being sold through for large enterprises targeting business users. So in using Generate, you don't even have the concept of coding. All you got to do is just go in and say, give it a prompt, and it'll
Wow.
pretty much do everything for you. And even so, we call it cards, just configuring these business style cards where, what I want to do. And then you can just chain a bunch of cards together, do this, then do that kind of thing, and
Nice.
connect them together and automatically run it. We also have a ability to run autonomous prompts. So that means you just simply go give one prompt and it'll figure out what to do. It'll do planning and figure out what are the sub steps are, and it'll figure out where to go, connect to, and do all that stuff for you.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
that's going to
mean,
help many businesses.
yeah. We have a lot of such capabilities. We've been talking to now like, a lot of and working with many number of businesses in this area. Yeah.
That's awesome. And as I mentioned earlier, Iterate has some incredible success with brands like Ulta Beauty and Circle K. Can you share a real world example of how your agentic AI approach has helped an enterprise deploy faster or innovate more securely or maybe even
Yeah, I mean,
improve
we've been in
something?
the yeah, absolutely. We've been in the AI business for quite a long time, and some of the brands that you've mentioned, we've done a lot of things, not just agent, but also like computer vision and other
Oh,
type of
yeah.
capabilities. And
Nice.
like for example, in a gas and station environment, you can put your credit card, your take a picture of your license plate, drive to the gas station, and it'll open up the pump for you, and it'll
Oh,
perform.
wow.
Yeah, all those capabilities deployed at scale. Now on the agentic side, we are doing a number of not just with this brand, but like across the board. I think we're doing a number of different types of capabilities. There are lots and lots of use cases in the agentic world, right? You have use cases in the agentic world for example, you are on an online search, you're searching for something. Now the agent can basically suddenly jump in and have a strike a conversation with you, right?
Mhm.
If you're a consumer. So that kind of capabilities are there. There are capabilities where if you're a large company look analyzing trying to do purchase and procurement, you are analyzing RFP. So we
Mm.
have systems that can actually agentic capabilities that could automatically analyze and score RFPs and help large companies select vendor procurement systems. We also have systems where for if you're a healthcare customer, if you're a hospital and you're trying to bill insurance companies, and a lot of times hospitals only get paid a part of what they bill because of insurance companies have very sophisticated systems to figure out how to push back. And this will analyze your data and then basically allow CFOs from hospitals to basically prevent revenue leakage and do recovery much
Wow.
faster. So there are lots of cases from all the way because it's a general agentic platform, and we've also have experience working across in certain verticals in retail, in healthcare, in manufacturing, in insurance, and now we are also going to industrial. So with some of the larger companies that we work with partners, we've also are providing industrial type applications where you are in an oil field, you are in a mining field, and suddenly your equipment breaks down, and you can just talk to these things and say, hey, or even take a picture, and it will basically big
Wow.
yeah. So it's all the way from, so we have applications, agentic style applications, all the way from consumers type stuff, what you interact on websites and what you interact on your mobile apps, to very sophisticated, very industry domain oriented applications that
Mm.
are used by day-to-day workers
I love
within
that.
large companies. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. And agentic AI seems to be the next wave in the AI deployment process. Can you explain what that means and why you believe it's so important for enterprises to build AI agents and not just use a one size fits all LLM?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Agents is basically at a higher level. It's basically think of agent as a piece of an orchestration software, right? And what that does is it actually tells the LLM, right? It uses because LLM, an agent's core brain is still an LLM or a series of LLMs, right? But these agents are orchestration software that tells the LLM what it wants to achieve, and then and gives instructions to basically plan and execute a series of tasks, as well as continue to orchestrate and maintain the states during orchestration, right? And also to use tools, because this whole agentic process came when an LLM had the ability to call functions or tools.
Right.
That's how it all started, right? So
Mm.
think about LLM being just a brain without arms and legs, and tools become its arms and legs. Tools are basically ability to call functions, right? Just like humans, right? When we became a tool user, we ended up starting building big things that are much bigger than us, right?
Mm.
Humans today, right? If I don't know, like most of us are like 5, 6 feet
Mhm.
tall, and then what happens is we are building massive skyscrapers that thousands of feet tall. How is that possible? It's possible because you are using tools,
Mhm.
tool usage. So tool allows your brain to expand in orders of magnitude. Same things happening in software.
Mhm.
That's why we are living in a sea change, a time of sea change, a time of a revolutionary time. because now the first time AI is figuring out now it can do much bigger things that it couldn't ever do. So it's like so this is the agent is like a supercar for our brain. So you can do like amazing things with it. Why is it important for enterprises? I think it's important for enterprises because enterprises have a lot of inherent built-in complexity. And then over time, these complexities get stacked and stacked and stacked together to a point where they become completely inoperational or build standard operating procedures that are very extremely inefficient because of all the complexity that have got stacked over years. Agents, I think, can do a few things the traditional software couldn't do because agents are using LLMs underneath. They could actually have a lot more intelligence, and they could do things that were considered previously unscalable. So if you look at within an enterprise today, there are two parts, right? There is things that standard software can do, or like workflows, or think do step A, then take that, do step B, and then do step C and D and E and F, right? Those are things that can be still done with existing workflow, like traditional old school software without agents. But there are things that you have to make dynamic decisioning, things that you have to be very intelligent about and be very contextual or personalized, change based on the circumstances, or you may want to have some human input to it. A lot of that stuff can be done in an agentic process because now in an agentic world, the LLMs can make a decisions and they already come with the knowledge of the internet or even more. And now you feed the enterprise specific data in addition to that, now they can do a lot more and then also give them access into the enterprise systems. So I think so agents are really important. Agents can simplify a lot of actions within your company. And I think this is the time for companies to really learn and understand about agents and become good at it.
Yeah. And I love that example that you gave, that LLMs are the brain and the agents are the tools. I never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense. I love that.
They suddenly empowered the LLMs and now they
Yeah.
can start doing things that they were never able to do.
Yeah. That
Uh,
is amazing. Yeah.
So there's so many capabilities they can do, and sometimes it just blows your mind. There are times like where like nowadays when in some of our products when we want to do testing, we basically go into Claude, which is one of the LLMs from Anthropic, Claude Desktop, and we basically give it like a plan, and it'll automatically open your app and execute the whole test
That's awesome.
like using a browser tool, right? So there are browser tools that are out there. So that's just a very simple rudimentary example, but there are more sophisticated things you can do. Like there could be a 30-step process and it would do it in
Yeah.
very intelligently. Yeah.
That's awesome. And looking ahead, where do you see AI evolving over the next couple of years? Are there any capabilities or deployment models or business shifts you think will become
Yeah, and
standard?
there is a lot happening every day. There are
Yeah.
AI. I think the evolution is going to be at every aspect of AI. The whole idea of LLMs themselves. How do we create more efficient LLMs? How do we make it like one of the things that's coming in the LLM space is like this concept called diffusion models. So
Right.
if you're generating an image today, you use stable diffusion, which is basically a different technique where you don't, when you're generating text today, you generate a word and then use the prior word and keep on. It's called autoregressive, and that's computationally very intensive and these diffusion models are not that intensive. So you can actually, so diffusion style LLMs are coming in. That space is constantly evolving every day. So there's be a lot of more efficient because we've spent a lot of money in compute. How do you actually make, because as if you want to convert everything, all these LLMs to every enterprise wants to convert all these LLMs. The answer is not spending a lot of capex on data centers. And yes, some of them you have to do because you have to train like foundation models and frontier models. But for most companies, that's a very heavy bill to swallow. So how do you actually make compute more cost effective? And that's by changing the core architecture and structures of how LLMs are going to operate. So that's going to happen in one side. The other is the whole deployment and efficiency place of how do you make LLMs more efficient, like the concept of context window, because LLMs have a very small memory context window, and that's getting bigger and bigger. But now there is so much technology that's out there that can actually like memory OS and memory GPTs and all kinds of research where now you can give infinite amount of memory to them, but also techniques to make sure that the LLMs remember the whole thing at the same time. Because at the end of the day, you need to know a lot of these things while you're processing, especially in areas like finance or healthcare. If you miss a little piece, then you make the LLM will start hallucinating and start doing like non-intended things.
Right.
So that entire area, I think, is also gonna grow, like deploying these things, scaling these LLMs better. And then, of course, the other area that's also gonna increase in organizations is this idea of called encoding the institutional knowledge. So the ability to fine tune an LLM, to do RAGs on LLMs, to do these things where you teach the LLM about your company, because LLMs are trained on public internet knowledge. They are not trained on private company knowledge. But LLMs are gonna, that path is also continue to gonna grow. So there's a lot of things that will happen mostly from the growth of LLMs. And the other is, I think, in general, like these companies, these labs that are working on this type of LLMs, they are going to come up with more advanced capabilities every release, right? Every LLM is breaking the prior, whatever theoretically thought was not possible. So you're going to
Mhm.
keep on. That's going to, I think what's really interesting is that I think there is, I call it like what happens is like when, I think in January of this year, I think an LLM could do a very large LLM like a chat GPT or even the stuff that we do inside our generate application could probably do about 2 hours of a human work, regardless of what field you are in, marketing, right? Now it could do 3 hours. So
Mhm.
every 3 months, it does 1 hour of your work more,
That's
right?
awesome.
That's the growth speed, right? It could be very soon by
Yeah,
next June, July, it could probably do 8 hours of your work,
that's insane, but
right?
exciting too.
I know it's crazy, insane, and exciting at the same time. Yeah, I agree.
And before we wrap up, I always love to ask when you do step away from your work, what are some activities or hobbies you're passionate about?
Oh, great question. I have a lot of hobbies, but lately I've been super busy trying to build this company.
Yeah.
But when you are an entrepreneur, you wear many hats. Even it's funny because
Yeah.
when we were 6 people 5 years ago, I said when we are 20, I would take a little bit of a break.
Mhm.
And then we were 50, and I said the same thing. When we were 20, when you're 50, we'll take a break. And then at 50, I said, when you're 100, I'll take a break. And work never stops. And it actually, the more people you hire, the more it gets.
Yeah.
But we got great people, great teams. I think when I get time, I do a couple of things. One is, of course, I'm into growing wine. So in my house, in my property, I have a little mini vineyard. So like right now, the grapes are growing outside.
That's so
So it's
cool.
like, yeah. So during September, I harvest and I make a little. I make about two carboys. In fact, there's a carboy sitting in the back, and
Ah,
uh, just for hobby, and then give it to friends for Christmas.
oh, that's a good
Uh,
idea.
and then I do watch a little bit of. I follow F1 races. So yeah, and then that's pretty much. And then I do work at my house, try to build new structures and other things. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian. Your insights on the evolving tech landscape and the powerful work you're doing with Iterate, it's been eye-opening and inspiring. And I know our audience is going to walk away with a clearer sense of how AI is shaping not just enterprise innovation, but career paths for the next generation. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was great having us. It was a fun talk. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And for those of you who are curious about how Agentic AI can work within your organization, you can learn more at iterate.ai. Keeping you connected to tomorrow. Today, this is Alicia with AiNews.com.